So, if you know anything about crypto, then you likely know who Benjamin Cohen is. Cowen, I don't know how to say his last name. Sorry. Which means you likely know that he loves to talk about Bitcoin dominance, and you likely know that he's been talking about dominance for quite some time, going to 60%. Now, that being said, ever since I had heard his thesis on Bitcoin going to 60%, Bitcoin dominance rather, I have conducted my own analysis on Bitcoin dominance. And as you can see, my analysis lined up very well with his thesis in Bitcoin dominance going to 60%. Now, that being said, for me, it's a little bit wider of a range. It's between where we are now, 59.65, or we're above that, and 64 or 65% is where I am predicting that dominance will likely turn over. And I will say this, guys, people are never too shy, or too early rather, to suggest that dominance is topped out. You guys got to understand something. I am a creator with my own trading network. I have many trading friends that have their own networks. I can see the banter going on in the YouTube comments. I can see the banter going on in the Discords, in the different Discords. And there's always a few people that are like, okay, Bitcoin dominance is topped out. It's ready for alt season. And that never seems to be the case. I have kept my conviction on a Bitcoin dominance touching 60% with, of course, the influence of Benjamin Cowen. But I've kept that same idea because the analysis makes sense for it to happen. The TA makes sense. Now, does it have to go to 60? Absolutely not. I'm ready for it to turn now. What you're seeing on your screen, I should have stayed on the 4 hour. What you're seeing on your screen right now is this was drawn out. I can't even tell you how many months ago I've had it drawn out. So the idea within this red box is once I see a high time frame structure change, that is where, and not before then, alt season may come into fruition here for us. Okay. And before we talk about alt season, I want to discuss what alt season looks like, because I think a lot of people may not know, and a lot of people, like I indicated earlier, getting a little bit too excited saying, oh, dominance is topped out, even though there was nothing to suggest that, don't really quite understand what altcoin season looks like. I want you to take a look at the left of your screen. You see this waterfall here, guys? Oh, this is alt season, okay? Not little pullbacks here on the way to 60%. That is not what alt season is. None of that. This guy, that is alt season. And so I chose today to make this video because A, it looks like Bitcoin is making its way to the upside, and B, it looks like dominance alongside Bitcoin making its way to the upside is also making its way to the upside. Okay. Now you can see this because Bitcoin is up 2% for the day and the alts are getting absolutely smacked down, destroyed. Okay. They're getting destroyed. Now, the interesting topic that I want to cover today isn't really so much dominance. Don't mind my scalp TA here. Isn't so much dominance, but it's more so Bitcoin as a whole and where I think the market might be headed, confluent with dominance making its way upwards of 60%. We're obviously in this macro range, and if you have not been new to the channel, then you know literally the entire year since Bitcoin made its high in March, okay? I've been talking about the confluence that it's going to have, the implications that Bitcoin's going to have when dominance reaches 60%. We've been talking for months. I can't even tell you when, maybe since like June, maybe May, that I believe Bitcoin will choose its direction from this range at the same time or close to the same time that dominance heads its way over to that nice red order block that we've been watching here for quite some time. I believe that Bitcoin will head on into that whichever direction it may be for when dominance hits 60%. Okay. Now the two scenarios are very different as opposed to what may happen, right? If the 60% plus gets hit while we're at all-time high, it will completely change if the 60% or plus gets hit if we're coming down lower. Okay. The reason we're making this video today is because although we are very close to 60% plus, we are not out of the woods yet. I've been talking on the channel about how I believe the expectational order flow is $70.1 thousand. Now, I have to be very, open, and it's no secret. Anyways, I did call the short from here because I did think that it was too early to come get it. It's been free ride for the longs, and that we would have seen somewhat of a retracement pre-hitting this 70.1 level. So that happened. Now, where I was wrong was we didn't come down low enough. I wanted to take this low. Unfortunately, we didn't come and take that low. That's fine. We're still long. Shouts out to the Nexus. We still got a nice long in, within, because I can trade any range. But we talked about how this is likely to be the order flow objective. Now, if I were to get on my macro analysis or my macro order blocks or swing trade ideas or whatever, then you can see here that we have a nice fat red, not red yet, red 12-hour order block above this 70.1K level. The odds of us not coming to 70.1, I think, are very, very slim. The odds of us SFPing that 70.1 slash SFPing it into this zone, which is 70.5 to 72K, I would say are 50-50. Why am I saying 50-50? Because I can't tell you if the candle is going to close like this guy or like this guy. I can't tell you that. Just like you can't tell me that. The reason I'm bringing this up is because this is very much so going to impact what happens for the following few months, for the next little while on crypto, in my opinion, at least for the rest of the year. Okay? Is this close? Remember what I said. If dominance makes its way up to 60% while Bitcoin comes and takes the high, it's generally going to be a good thing. If dominance makes its way to 60% as we come to the range low, alts are going to get absolutely destroyed and demolished, and that's not going to be your altcoin season yet. Now, I didn't say that in this video, but I've talked about that many times on live streams and on previous videos. So make sure you go watch those videos as well for more information. That being said, the elephant in the room here is the, I don't even know how much it is, 30 billion or something amount of liquidations at this level. I find it very unlikely that we're not going to get at least somewhat of a reaction off of here. Okay? Now, you guys know on the channel, I've been following the structure from the high to the low of the range, and we're going to skip some points that don't matter. It's not important, but we have high, low, high, low, high, low, low SFP on a higher term time frame, which would mean that this target is the target, right? When you SFP the low, the target becomes the high, which works out both ways. If you SFP the high, then your target becomes the low. The reason I'm talking about dominance, which is almost there, shouts out to Benjamin Cohen. The reason that I'm talking about that is because if Bitcoin swing fails this high, then the technicals, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, don't be weird, but the technicals suggest if you SFP the high, you will make your way down to the low. Bitcoin dominance being on this much of a run is, and in terms of it being alt season, remember we talked about the waterfall here. In terms of alt season coming around the corner, will very much so depend on Bitcoin. All eyes are on Bitcoin right now, and you can see that again because the alts are getting absolutely demolished. If Bitcoin can successfully break above this 70.1K level successfully, then the confidence will move from Bitcoin into the altcoins, and we will likely see an altcoin season. If Bitcoin swing failures this high, then we could see a move back down. Remember, just because this is the technical target doesn't mean it's going to happen 100%. I'm not saying that it's going to go down. I don't even know what's going to happen at this high. We could just shoot straight up to all-time high from here, which is great. Which would also be another scenario for the confidence to come back into the alts. Profits from Bitcoin will likely move on over into the alts and will likely range up here. Whatever happens, right? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But should we SFP this, and should we start getting higher time frame breaks of structures and reconfirmations, I will say this. It's not a very hard ride down, okay? And this is ultimately what happens when you don't sweep liquidity, which we've talked about many, many times. Once again, I'm not saying we're coming here, but and we don't have to come for this liquidity right now, right? Just like we didn't have to come for this liquidity for look how long it's been. But I'm just saying, if we were to take this high and sweep this high, which it's looking like we're at least going to touch that 70.1K level, right? It's only $400 away. We've been talking about that. And dominance continues to rise and does not actually stop at the exact 60% level. For example, it comes up a little bit more, maybe 62, 63. Then that means that there's a lot of time between where we are now and where Bitcoin may, or Bitcoin dominance rather, may top out here. Okay. So I'll tell you this, my long position, I'm actually going to cover my ass right the hell now, and I'm going to take some profits. I'm going to take some profits literally right now as we speak, because I don't trust it and I'm in the middle of a video and this could go south real fast. So we're going to secure the bag and we're going to see what happens, and we're going to reassess, we're going to reanalyze, and we'll scalp it again, and we'll get in again if we need to. No problem. The idea though is if we get a fast reaction here, a very, very fast reaction here, and dominance continues to rise, and Bitcoin decide to roll over here, okay? If, I'm not saying it's going to, I'm saying if, then alts are going to bleed. Alts are going to get destroyed, rather. They're going to get absolutely demolished. And I don't think we're destined for an altcoin season quite yet. Now, I've made the case on why I still believe 44 comes before all-time high, but it doesn't matter what I believe, just like it doesn't matter what you believe. What matters is what is, and I think that if we were to take this high, if we were to touch the all-time high and we SFP that all-time high, and we start to range a little bit, you might see a Bitcoin, an altcoin season. But ultimately, I do think that at the very least, if we don't come back for some of this, and we touch this high, and we come back within the range, I ultimately believe that the cycle's over. Now, if you haven't been new to the channel, then you also know that I keep preaching the same thing, which is the cycle's broken. The cycle's broken. We touched all-time high pre-cycle. The cycle's broken. And you can kind of see it, right? Because we're not really getting the alt season that everyone wants. Everyone is so disappointed in this bull run, despite us. Everyone seems to forget that Bitcoin is king, and everyone seems to forget that Bitcoin within 478 days, so a year and a half, ran up almost 400%. People seem to forget that. And they're saying, oh, when is the bull run? Well, when is the bull run? Despite us having somewhat of a decent bull run. Now, what they're referring to are the altcoins. What they're referring to are the Solanas. What they're referring to are, you know, the Popcats and Wagwan, Popcan, and all that, you know? So, as Bitcoin dominance continues to crawl up, and it's being simultaneously in tandem with Bitcoin itself, I think that this is the decision moment. This is the time where we're going to understand what's going to happen for Bitcoin and for altcoins for the next following months, to say the least. I personally, and I could be wrong, I could eat my words here in 20 minutes. I don't think we're going to see all-time high this year. I don't. But again, it depends on what happens at this high. If we SFP that high, things get not as good as they could be. If we break above that high, we're going to have to start making some different videos. Now, again, I cannot emphasize this enough. It does not matter what I think. It does not matter what you think. It matters what is. So, if I think, oh, you know what, we could get somewhat of a pullback. Look here, perfect example. I thought we were going to get a bigger pullback than that. I thought we would at least take that. And we never did, right? So it doesn't matter what I think. You maybe thought here that we were going to come for 70.1. And I said, no, I don't think so. And it ended up, I don't think so-ing. So I wanted to bring this video to your attention because I wanted to give you kind of an insight as to what's happening in the market as a whole, especially for the newcomers. When is altcoin season? Why is Bitcoin up and all these altcoins are getting demolished? Now, if I made this video half an hour earlier, these altcoins was a bigger sea of red. Let's just say that. So this would hopefully help provide some clarity. I'm here to react to the market. And just like how we SFP'd this low, if we start SFPing this high and dominance continues to rise and we see no sign of dominance giving you that structure flip, then I don't think that it's time for alt season just yet. I also want to remind you and encourage you to trade safe and not be so belligerent with the noise that you might see on Twitter and on YouTube, because we are coming into an election, but we're not only coming into election, we are getting the same thing that we've been getting in this macro range over and over and over, which is, long story short, getting this pump, these pumps that do not actually come back for any liquidity, and then they absolutely get demolished afterwards. Okay, so I encourage you to remember that A, this is not a game of charity, right? This is a game. They are the casino and they got to keep the lights on. But B, don't be belligerent with your money and don't discredit all ideas. I've made it very clear to the Nexus, and now I'm making it very clear to you, that all-time high is in the question, 85K is in the question, 100K is in the question, 44K is in the question, 49K is in the question, 30K is in the question. They can do whatever they want, and they can hide their malicious intent, okay, their ill intent. They can hide it behind the election. I am a little bit worried that they're pumping pre-Trump winning, that they're pumping pre-election. It has me a little bit concerned. I will say that. I'm a little bit more cautious than I am just YOLO, everyone go all in right now. I don't trade that way. But this happens every time. You know, this is Biden stepping down. This was Trump almost getting shot, or whatever happened on whichever days, right? This one was Trump and this one was Biden getting shot, or the other way around. You know what I'm saying, right? So it's a little concerning. That's all I need to say. The fact that we're doing this pre-election. And so I think that the play here, if you don't know what's going on, is to just sit on your hands, because I think we will know fairly shortly. As I mentioned, we've been in this range for quite some time, and I've been saying on this channel for quite some time, I believe dominance will continue to rise, and whichever way Bitcoin is heading while it's hitting that level will determine when your altcoin season is, and ultimately the health of the entire crypto market. Now, I by no means believe that the bull run is over, and that's why for me, I prefer not to touch the all-time high just yet, because I think if we touch all-time high and if we come back into that level, especially if we break some high time frame structure, then I think that the bull run is over, and I don't think we're there yet. So for me, I will be heavily watching this 70.1K zone. I will be heavily watching Bitcoin dominance, and I will be heavily keeping my eye out on what I believe is the expectational order flow. And as always, try to trade towards that and be as neutral and objective as possible. This was kind of a different video, guys. But if you like the content and if you have a better understanding now as to what's going on in the crypto market and you enjoyed the content, please hit the like button for me. Make sure to subscribe so you can get, or with the notification bells as well, so you can get these updates right away. And, you know, all I can say, guys, is just trade safe, ignore the noise. Don't be ignorant to the ideas of all-time highs. Don't be ignorant to the ideas of pullbacks. Don't be ignorant to the ideas that, you know, some alts are still could make new lows. I mean, look at this. Like, Sui's getting absolutely beat down. Dang. I should have been paying attention to that. Look at that. Perfect trade idea right there. I got to let the Nexus know that that just hit. But you guys get the idea. All right, now, get out of here.